Hey guys, welcome back to the Curly Reader. My name's Amanda, and today we're going to be doing my July book haul. Alright, so during the month of July, I ended up acquiring a number of books from a number of different places. So I did not actually put in any book outlet orders or anything like that, but I just have a collection here of things from a variety of places, so we'll get into it. Some of these I know nothing about, as always. Some of them I know something about, so yeah. The first batch that I want to show you are books that I found at Little Free Libraries. So I do frequent Little Free Libraries around town frequently. Anyway, it's too many same words. Anyway, one I found recently, though, was Love That Dog by Sharon Creech. I love that dog, and I think there's Hate That Cat, maybe. But these are just they're written in verse books. I don't really know what they're about, but they're super cute. And so, yeah, I grabbed it out of the Little Free Library. Another one that I found is The Kitchen Boy, the novel of the Last Tsar by Robert Alexander. This is a really short, it sounds like historical fiction, maybe, and it's about Tsar Nicholas. That's all I really know. After reading A Gentleman in Moscow, I kind of have my interest peaked on some Russian historical fiction, so I just grabbed this one because I thought that would be good. Then I found, so excited for this, I found This Present Darkness by Frank Peretti. This has been on my 2020 TBR. It's been on a number of different TBRs I've done. I've never actually read it. It is my parents' favorite book. They've been wanting me to read it for forever. And the only book I had this book, but it was a hardback bind up of this book and the sequel. And so I found this paperback edition in a Little Free Library, and I'm so excited to have this and to be able to read it. It's Christian fiction, and it has to do with spiritual warfare. But outside of that, I don't really know much else about it. And then this next group of books I got from the thrift store. So kind of going off of the last book, at the thrift store, I found the sequel, Piercing the Darkness by Frank Peretti. So now I have, instead of a bind up in hardback form, I have the paperbacks in separate form, which are going to be so much more easy to read. So I am excited to have this. This is just the sequel to the other one. I have no clue what it's about. All right. At the thrift store, I also picked up a copy of Seabiscuit by Laura Hillenbrand. She wrote Unbroken, which was one of my all-time favorite books of last year. I love that book so much. But this follows the horse, Seabiscuit, who won something, a horse race. I don't know. He is a very, very famous racing horse. I know that. Don't slaughter me for not knowing. I have no idea. I also ended up picking up a copy of Beautiful Ruins by Jess Walter. This is one that I had just seen at the thrift store frequently, and I love the cover. You guys, that cover just speaks to me. It has to do with Italy, the Italian coastline, 1962. I don't really know, but the cover's beautiful, so I nabbed it. The next three are all middle grade that I picked up at the thrift store. I ended up finding Artemis Fowl, The Lost Colony, which I believe is the 5th book in the Artemis Fowl series. So I went ahead and grabbed that. I think I have the first 4 books, and I'm trying to read through that series. I also grabbed a copy of The Phantom Tollbooth by Norton Juster. This is just one that I've heard a ton about and never read. So I'm not real sure what it's about, but I've heard good things. And then I also picked up Okay for Now by Gary D. Schmidt. This is the companion to the Wednesday Wars, which I read during middle grade March. It's set during the Vietnam War. That's really all I know about it. All right, so that is, my hair is driving me crazy today. That's what I got from the thrift store and the Little Free Libraries. Also, my libraries around me are opening finally. We can go in for very limited amounts of time. I haven't taken my kids in or anything, but I did have a bag of books that I needed to take back. So I went in and took those back, and on the way out noticed that their normal, they normally have a bookshelf set up that's like their book sale that they just have constantly going, and it just said free. Everything's free. So I'm like, I got to check that out. I found 5 books on that shelf that I ended up bringing home with me. So the first one is Breaking Stalin's Nose, which is a Newbery Honor book I'd never heard of. It's by Eugene Yelchin, I think is how you say the last name. I really don't know much about this other than it is about Russia. It says 10-year-old Sasha Seichik has known the laws of the Soviet young pioneers since the age of 6, but now that it's finally time to join the young pioneers, the day that he's awaited for so long, everything seems to go awry. Perhaps Sasha does not want to be a young pioneer after all. Is it possible that everything he knows about the Soviet government is a lie? So that sounded really interesting. It's written it's like very short. So I went ahead and grabbed that. That's a library cast-off. Another library cast-off that I grabbed that I've never heard of before, I just sounded interesting, is called Yankee Girl by Mary Ann Rodman. And this has to do with civil rights, accents, and Southern custom. It's set during 1964. And Alice's FBI agent father has been reassigned from Chicago to Jackson to protect Black people who are registering to vote. Alice knows from news that down south, the Ku Klux Klan has burned down Negro churches and that civil rights workers have been murdered. But now she is abruptly in the midst of the racial turmoil that dominates current events. So yeah, and then it sounds like a Black girl joins her class. Yeah, so anyway, that should be, I would like to read that. I think that would be good. I've been trying to encourage my kids to read more books like that, and so I like to read them in advance to make sure they're appropriate and whatnot. All right, another book that I picked up from that same shelf is The Borrowers by Mary Norton, and this is just the classic, but I love this fun cover. It's just an older cover, and I've never read The Borrowers, so I thought that would be a good one to have. Another old one that I just don't own yet is Dear Mr. Henshaw, or didn't own yet, is Dear Mr. Henshaw by Beverly Cleary. This is one that I read when I was a kid and remember devouring, and so I love this little pocket edition. I think that'll be great. And then an adult book that I ended up grabbing, this is purely off of the influence of Chantel at An Intentional Life, is The Number One Ladies Detective Agency by Alexander McCall Smith. And this is a mystery series that is set in Africa, I believe. That's really all I know. So I grabbed that one, and those were all free. So that's what I got from that. A book that I did have one book that was sent to me by a subscriber, which was amazing. So this was sent to me by Caitlin. I couldn't remember her name. Sorry, Caitlin. But this was sent to me by Caitlin, and that is The Skylark's War by Hilary McKay. This is one that she saw on my growing TBR list and messaged me and said, hey, I have this. Would you like it? And so she sent it to me, which was so kind of her. And so, yeah, I am looking forward to reading that. So I got that one. This is set during World War I believe. And I think it's middle grade, I think. All right, and then I have a few here. Our library system this year, because they couldn't do their normal summer reading program, especially for the kids, they set up this thing where you could go to the library and they had mystery packets, like, set up, and they had them in a few different categories, and each kid could grab a packet, and it had a free book and then a few different activities you could do at home throughout the summer to kind of take place of summer reading. So my kids went and they grabbed a couple of them. One of them I ended up giving to a friend because I had already read it, and it wasn't one I thought my kids were going to love, so I ended up giving it to a friend. But one of them, my kids grabbed a graphic novel mystery pack, and it was a copy of Hey Kiddo by Jared Krzyzewska, which I read and listened to the audiobook. I read the book and listened while listening to the audiobook this past year, and it was great. And I am so excited to now have a copy of this on my shelf. I don't know, so it's appropriate for my kids. The subtitle is How I Lost My Mother, Found My Father, and Dealt with Family Addiction. So I think this is definitely more in the teen age range, but I'll keep it because I really enjoyed it, and one day my kids can read it, just not quite yet. So, and then the schools also sent around when the buses were bringing lunches around to the kids during the school year. They did a similar thing with the library where they were trying to promote summer reading. And so they had a lot of funding. They donated a ton of new books for the bus drivers to just hand out to the kids when they were handing out lunches. And so with that, we got Awkward and Brave, both by Svetlana Shmakova. These are 2 graphic novels that are middle grade graphic novels that I read this past month and adored, especially Brave. Oh my goodness. If you read one book in this series, read Brave. It is so well done, but they're all great. So we got the first 2 books in that for free from the library. So that was amazing. So then after I read Awkward and Brave, I decided that I needed to own the 3rd one. So I ended up ordering Crush from online. So I just ordered Crush. It's by the same author, and it follows, they're all companion novels, graphic novels. And so, yeah, this one was great as well. I ended up reading that one too. Okay. And then I also purchased 2 other books new. I knew I was going to be going on vacation and I would have a lot of time to read in the car, or so I thought. And so I kind of wanted to key in on books that really sounded interesting to me right now, that I knew if I had a big chunk of time to read, I could really get into them. And so a couple of them I didn't own yet that I wanted to were Diana Gabaldon's Outlander. I've been wanting to read this for forever and finally pulled the trigger and just bought it. I've been trying to find it at a thrift store and I just could not find one in good condition. You can find a bunch of them that are real torn up, but it's really hard to find one in good condition, and I did not want the TV show tie-in edition or whatever. So I ended up getting this one. I ended up reading 43 pages while I was on vacation. This is the extent of all of the reading that I did on vacation. So that did not go as planned, but I have it now, and the 43 pages I've read so far, I love. So I'm excited to continue reading that. And then the last book that I ended up purchasing brand new is Amor Towles' Rules of Civility. I purchased this after reading A Gentleman in Moscow. I just fell in love with Amor Towles' writing, and I knew I wanted to read more by him. And so I love that this kind of matches A Gentleman in Moscow's cover a little bit. And I just wanted to own it. So I bought it because I wanted to. So now I have it. Who knows when I will actually get around to reading this, but I own it. So that's it. Those are all of the books that I bought during the month of July. It seemed like a lot more than it actually was, I think. So we're doing good. All right, that's going to do it for today, I think. If you have read any of these books, as always, I would love to hear your opinions about them down below. Also, if you think I should get to some of them sooner rather than later, let me know. And I think that's it. So I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope that you stick around and subscribe. And until next time, see ya.